Yeah, doing my morning walk, so I thought I'd take you guys with me before it got too hot. Now, from some of you might recall that I was living in Virginia until about 6 days ago. Sometimes a lot of shit just happens and happens and happens and happens, and it happens so fast, it's like you gotta learn how to read signs from spirit. And that's what my ass had to do because too much shit was going on too fast. Not too long ago, I had a job I thought I could retire from, do YouTube on the side. Thought I could, or if I made enough money on YouTube to go ahead and retire from that once, retire from the job. Once I made enough from the YouTube, I'm gonna show y'all some of this scenery while I'm talking. But anyway, I should have came out here an hour earlier because it's already feeling like it's 80 degrees. That's like I'm not trying to walk too fast this morning, but I gotta do it. But anyway, let me give y'all a little story time. First of all, I want to issue my apologies for the recipients of the gift card situation last month. I'm just getting caught up on everything. So for those of you who are, still waiting for me to respond or haven't received anything yet, I apologize. But let me tell you why. And this is not an excuse, but life really hit me in the ass. For those of you who don't know, I was working for a customer service for a transportation company. I would float between different locations within the region. I would do phone service, email, person to person, surveys, whatever they needed me to do in different locations. Job had great benefits, but the hourly pay was shitty. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was shitty. So it's one of the reasons why I started to do side hustles was to kind of take up the slack financially for what I wasn't getting from the job. Okay, like I said, the benefits was great. Insurance, retirement plan. But it's just that paycheck was barely making it. Truth be told, over 60, pardon little dog, let me pass by. But anyway, over 60 to 70% of my paycheck would go to just cover living expenses. Okay? But I muddled through. And we're almost approaching where I need to go, so we're gonna have a seat in a minute. Sit by the water. Anyway, it seems like it got rougher and rougher at their job. First of all, there were some things that should have been done that weren't done. Without going into too many details, because I'm still on the payroll. But I got priced out of the apartment that I was in and had to wind up taking in a roommate. And some of you guys who watch my lives know this. A little over a year ago, I had to do that. So my housemate had Wi-Fi, so I can do my lives on Sunday, and I started doing that. And I thought I was okay every Sunday because my housemate would be out of the house, and I would have full access on Sunday morning around 10 o'clock. Thought I had something going on. Had a few people chime in, which was cool. But it didn't pan out because after about several weeks, it seemed like every single time that I tried to get on the Wi-Fi, the internet connection would be spotty, or it would be a bad connection, which was weird because that shit never happened any other time. And remember, I told you guys, you got to pay attention to signs sometimes. So I found myself having to cut the live off and doing part twos, which I really hated because you got to reestablish a connection and set up in a place where it's stronger and all this old bullshit. So I'm like, whoa. So anyway, I'm over here passing by the city facility here. So I'm gonna let this truck pass by, but I'm gonna keep talking. Hopefully you can hear me. Anyway, I'm gonna go over here so they won't get caught in the shot. Got people walking by, so let me just hold on. My sister lives near a township that is small, and a lot of the people who are in the township that work for the city, I'm by like city hall facilities and things like that, and these folks are coming into work because I guess they start work at 8 o'clock. Like I said, I should have came out here a little earlier, but it was rough. So anyway, okay, now I can move along. Apparently they got to check in with the security gate. That's cool. But anyway, I'm gonna go over here and sit somewhere where it's not too bad. I can sit down and wait. I'm trying to think if there's somewhere for a little bit further where I won't be in the sun where I can sit down. Let me look further down the street. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the internet connection. Well, it's funny how that happened, because around that time was the time when me and my housemate were not getting along. And let me tell you guys what happened with that shit. Okay? Now, from a business standpoint, for some of you who don't know, I have more than one channel. Okay? Without going into the promotion, all that, you guys can look into the bio and see which ones. I got PeachyPathfinder and I got Gerda's Gastro World. Without going into detail or trying to get you guys to subscribe or anything like that, that's what I got going on. So with that being said, having multiple channels, I was informed that it was advisable that I go ahead. Y'all look at that, isn't that beautiful? Anyway, hello to the person who came in. I can't see who you are, I'm walking, but good morning. Anyway, now see, if I sit on this bench, am I gonna wind up in the sun? Yes, I am, and I don't want that shit. Let me go back over here in the shade. Anyway, I went ahead and created a company to keep the channels under. And even though I tried to arrange to have everything online, people can spam you whether you're a business or a corporation. You know, they'll spam you. So what happened was some solicitation came to my roommate's house. It came to the house, and yeah, we're gonna sit under these live oaks here. Hopefully nothing will fall on me, but that's okay, I can handle it. I hope you enjoy the scenery. Anyway, I'm gonna have you look at this water while I talk. I'll show you my face in a minute, hold on. Anyway, as far as my roommate was concerned, my housemate was concerned, a solicitation, because you know, once you register your business, anybody can sell you anything, came to the house under the company's name. And it had my name underneath it. Now let me tell you how devious and greedy spirits are. Now my ex-housemate was a cheapskate, no doubt about it. He was a gentleman. He's a cheapskate. But I didn't realize at what level until this piece of mail came to the house. This was one of two instances that made me want to get the hell out of there. This was back in, I want to say November, December. That was around the time that I stopped doing the lives because I had a problem with the internet connection. Okay. And I'm going to flip this around. Hopefully you guys can see me. Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Anyway, I know it's a little bit, but I'm trying to stay under the shade tree. It gets hot really quick around here. But anyway, back to the story. First thing was that the live internet became spotty on Sunday mornings. And that messed me up because I was hoping to do the live so I can engage more with you guys. Second thing it happened was a piece of solicitation came to the house under my company's name. And when I came home from work that evening, my housemate proceeded to ask me, and good morning to the person who came in. Thank you for joining me. And when the solicitation came in, the first thing they said, well, I wanted to talk to you about the situation in regards to the house. And I'm like, okay. Ooh, somebody's got a beautiful dog. Good morning.
Morning.
Are you walking the baby or is the baby walking you?
She's walking me.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. There are a lot of dog walkers around here. My sister lives in an area that's really quiet and, a lot of homeowners, semi-retired and stuff. So you're going to see a lot of people riding bikes and jogging and walking their dogs. Love it. Anyway, piece of solicitation came to the house. When it came to the house, I came home from work that evening. My mail was sitting on the table. And my housemate proceeded to tell me, he said, I want to talk to you about a few things. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. And the reason why I say, oh my gosh, is because this is the type of person that I walked on eggshells. Y'all, there's nothing wrong with respecting somebody's home because you're in their house. But you know what? I believe that even though you're living in somebody else's house, they should respect you as a human being in general, whether it's their house or not. No matter where they are, they should treat you like a human being. That's just the way I look at it. So I was already walking on eggshells around this person because from like day 2, everything was a little nitpicky thing. And have you noticed that people who are picky about stuff usually have a lot of bullshit going on in their lives? Okay, this is this guy. So and he probably, he never had anything before. I think he had said something about having a problem with bankruptcy and all that. So he was able to get back some of the stuff he had before. So he's feeling himself as far as, okay, I was able to do this. This is mine, mine, mine. Okay, fine, that's yours. That's great. That's wonderful. But I'm not here to try to take your shit or anything like that. I was in a pinch because I got priced out of a place and I had still been looking the whole time for somewhere else to go. That was affordable. Rent started skyrocketing. The requirements to get a place, they wanted you to make 3 times the salary, which I wasn't making. And during that time, I was trying to apply for internal positions that paid a little bit more. So I said, well, that evening when I came home, he said, well, I want to talk to you. He said, you started a business. Now, mind you, I mentioned the possibility of doing something like that quite some time before. Go to show his ass wasn't listening. So he said, well, I see that you got this piece of mail. What is that? I said, well, that's the company that I formed because I have more than one YouTube channel. So I can go ahead and start treating this like a business and doing things in a business manner, long story short. Because I didn't want to go into detail with it. Guys, if you're running a business or something like that, please don't try to discuss running a business with somebody who never had one or understood that shit, because they're going to be confused about what you're talking about. And I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but the truth is what it is. So don't waste your breath. Just say as little as possible, if anything, and keep it moving. So anyway, he said, well, how do I factor into this business? I'm like, factor? And I said to myself, oh, okay. Okay. You want a piece of this? We had already had, I'm walking on eggshells. I can't sit by myself. I got to be moving all the time, always asking questions. Don't even half listen to what I have to say. I was already halfway in shutdown mode and thinking of it, formulating an exit plan anyway. And I said, factor. Well, yeah, in regards to the bills, because, you are using the utilities and things for your channel. Now, let me interject this point. This man has never watched any of my videos on any of my channels. He has never, the only time that he watched it is if I was replaying it on TV or something and he just happens to notice it, but he never asked about my content, never did a like, a comment, never subbed, never encouraged any of his people to sub or anything like that. And I developed a philosophy of regardless of where you are, if you're going to turn around and do something like that, you know, if somebody's doing something creative in your life, support them. Support them, because you don't know at what level they're going to be where you might need them for something. And I've already decided a long time ago, watching other content creators, and thank you every single one of you, Ralph Smart, Trinius Henderson, Maytoki Thomas, Mercy Gono, let me see who else we've got. Elite Rose. Rose, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. But anyway, these are different people that I listen to. Jordan Peterson. Yes, I listen to Jordan Peterson. Y'all heard me say it. Ralph Smart was the first one that kind of like encouraged me to start doing a YouTube channel altogether. And then it was Trend. But anyway, you guys check out those channels. They're all about motivation and elevation on spiritual levels so you can achieve things in this material world. Long story short. So I said, what you mean factor? Because I told myself, if you ain't supporting me, you ain't getting a piece of this shit. Especially if you ain't paid any of the cost to do it, you didn't invest anything. You know, I mean, I'm already paying my share of the bills as far as utilities and my share of the groceries and stuff is concerned anyway. So you gonna turn around and ask me how I factor into something? How do you factor into it? Why don't you tell me, you know, you want to be a partner in this or something? You want to invest? Because I don't see your support. And I could look in my subscribers and see who support me and who doesn't. You know, whether you're a family member, this, that, and the other. So don't come to me lying about, oh, I watch your videos all the time. Oh, I sub your channel. I like so-and-so. You're lying. Because I could look and see whether or not you sub. And I said to myself, what you mean? How do you factor into this? I said, first of all, for business purposes, I said, I can't be turning around giving you part of my profits because I'm here and I'm running a business. I said, I have to count for every single dime that I spend in regard to this business. I said, this is a business now for me. I said, it's not just a hobby. See, you don't realize, and I know a lot of you probably heard this in a lot of motivational speeches, that you don't realize who's watching you. And some people see your potential for success more than you do, but they don't do shit to support you. And when he came out and said that, I said, look, I ain't trying to get into trouble with the IRS. And I said, and that's the number one way of doing it. When you take company funds and start spending it willy-nilly and you can't account for it. I said, no, I said, if you want me to invest in this, as far as me giving you any extra money around here, you got to start putting my name on some shit. I said, right now you got everything in your name. I said, but you got to start putting my name on some shit in order for me to start giving you some extra money every single month. Oh, okay. Let me tell you something. Y'all thought I had a hard time before that conversation? Oh, it was really a hard time after that. I said to myself, okay, I got something for you. So I really started looking for places. I looked into affordable housing, you know, not Section 8 because I didn't qualify, but they had like low to medium income housing. Waiting list was a year and a half to 2 years long. I said to myself, I ain't got time for that shit. So that was back in last of November, December. All of a sudden, you know, that went on for maybe like a couple of weeks or so. I got the cold shoulder snapping at me and everything else. And I just finally went off on his ass around December. I want to say December, no, it was January. A couple of weeks before I came here to visit my sister. And I said, look here. I said, well, I don't know why you worried about my little bit of money. I said, you got so much money. You got the retirement from this job. You're currently working the other job. And I said, you got the military coming in. I said, you made 6 figures last year. I said, but you know what? I said, I don't see why you need my little bit of extra money for. I said, now, if you want to increase based on the, you know, this increase in this area and this increase in that area, and you want to increase my portion, fine. Show me the increase so you could justify asking me for more money. But other than that, I ain't doing that shit for you. I was having a bad day at work, and I just went off. I said, now, if you want to put my black ass out, you could do that. I said, I got a friend of mine works at extended stay. I've done extended stays before. I said, I could take my black ass right back over to the extended stay and stay right over there. And I said, I ain't got to worry about your shit or nobody else's. I said, it'll be a little bit harder for me financially, yes, because I would have to pay a little bit more money. I said, but I'd rather have that than to come home to this bullshit every day. And I said, another thing. I said, I'm not going to get in trouble with the IRS because you want to be greedy. And I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I see why now you can't get nobody to stay in here with your ass. And I said, another thing. I said, if you balling so much, why the hell you need somebody to stay with you anyway? Sometimes you got to ask questions to people. And see, I'm not the type of person, I don't like being in that energy, y'all. I really don't. I don't like to argue with nobody. And as I stated before, if there is a fight, I'm not going to pick a fight. But I damn sure ain't going to run away from one. And if I get involved with one, be prepared to lose. Because I'm going to whip out that wisdom. I'm going to whip out that intel on your ass to just shut your ass up. And ever since then, all of a sudden, I done went from being on eggshells to his ass being on eggshells. I said to myself, okay. So I told him, I said, you know what, to end this conversation, I said, you ain't got to worry about me going above and beyond in this place no more, no damn more. I said, I said, every time I go out, I always try to bring you back something to eat or a little souvenir or something. Cause I said, cause your cheap ass don't want to go out nowhere trying to be friendly. I said, I would sit on Friday nights and watch movies with you and games and shit, trying to be friends to your ass. I said, well, that shit is over. I said, I'm going to do what's required in here, and I ain't going to do a minute more for your ass. And I said, on the weekends, I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to leave, and I get the fuck back here when I get the fuck back here. I said, there's nothing personal anymore with you. No more. I said, because you don't even support my fucking efforts. I said, I told you when I first came in here that I did social media on the side. I said, but see, you discounted that shit because you was all in yourself. I ain't got time for that. So that was another incident that occurred. First was the Wi-Fi. That was around in November. And then the situation with the mail piece in first week of January. So fast forward to the end of January. This is the third incident and the final incident that really put the nail in the coffin for me. I came here to Georgia to visit my sister. She was going through some things, and I said, okay, I'll help her out while I was here. Okay, I get that part. But the thing is, when I come back, I was only gone for a week. Mail had come to my house. Now, I stayed in that house from March until April of this year, a little over a year. Every single day I came home, my mail would be on the table. No problem. When I came home a week later, and this was around the time, remember, if you live in the U.S., the end of January, you were starting to get your W-2 forms from your job. My job mailed my W-2 form to me. Why is it the night that I came home and went into my bedroom to unpack my bag, my damn W-2 form was sitting on my dresser, open. Open, y'all. Now, y'all know that's mail fraud, that's mail tampering. I could have had the bitch arrested. I could have had him arrested for that. And had the nerve to come in and ask me about the trip and everything, and I didn't say nothing. I turned around and I looked right at that piece of paper, and he said, oh, that was opened by mistake. Now, see, your ass lying. Now, I moved in March of the previous year. Here it is January the following year. As many times as I had pieces of mail come in, you ain't touched shit. And as soon as you see my W-2 form, you open it up and looking at the motherfucker. You know what it looked like because we work for the same damn company, you dumb fuck. But something said, you know what? This person already showed you what they were about. Don't worry about it. I didn't even bother getting mad. I said to myself, Spirit, thank you. Thank you. Because you just confirmed what the hell I needed to do. Talk about, oh, I was opening it by mistake. I said to myself, how is it a damn mistake? 11 months worth of mail done came to your house, and you mean to tell me you ain't opened none of that, but you going to open up the one where you wanted to know how much money I was making so you could turn around and come with me some dumb shit. So I said to myself, okay, so I changed my mindset. I said to myself, screw trying to find an apartment or anything. I'm getting the hell out of here at the end of March so I can scrape up some money. I said, even if I got to go to a hotel, couch surf or whatever, I'm getting the hell out of here. So I didn't say nothing. I kept my cool the whole time. I didn't confront him about it. When he said, oh, I just opened it by mistake, I was like, okay. And I just kept right on going and gave him an impression everything was okay. This is the type of person, y'all, that likes to argue all the time. And when you come across somebody who likes to argue all the time, there's no sense of trying to make them angry. Sometimes they try to bait you into arguments and everything else. No, you don't do that with them. Okay? All right, so that was the third thing, the third sign that I needed to get the hell on out. Okay? So here I am, the end of January. I'm starting to make plans to leave. Come hell or high water, I'm getting the hell out of here. I even thought about it after I visited my sister, because every time I came to visit my sister, she would always ask me, when you coming home to Georgia, when you coming home to Georgia. And for many years I said I wasn't going to do it. But a lot of things have changed around here for the better, thank God. You know, it's up and coming, the cost of living is reasonable, and I'm familiar with it. My people are here, it's great, it's wonderful. Okay, and welcome to the people who are coming in. So it's good for me. And it also gives me the space and the freedom to kind of expand on this venture with the social media. You know, other aspects of it. I can get back into doing my freelance counseling if I want to a little bit later on. I'm still debating that one. Or, you know, promote some of the digital products that I have, because I have some digital products that I haven't been really promoting because I haven't had a chance to really build my channels the way I want to engage with you guys more. Because I miss doing the lives, even if it's just one or two people coming in. I like doing that. Instead of you guys just watching content all the time, I want you to be able to shout you out, talk to you. So that was the end of March. End of February. I went ahead and did what I needed to do. First week of March, after I paid my share of the bills, I told him, I said, well, you know, at the end of the month, I'm leaving. He's like, where are you going? I said, well, I'm moving. So I gave him the impression I was moving to an apartment, but the truth is that, you know, places that I applied were too expensive. And if I told him I was going to a hotel, then he would have been on my ass about stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there. So I just told him I was moving into an apartment, which in a way those extended stays are kind of like studios. So I didn't lie. I kind of just didn't tell him everything. You can't be honest with these people no damn way, because they're not being honest with you. They're being sneaky and devious and stealing from you. So, hey, tit for tat. That's the way I look at it. So I told him I was leaving the first week of March. Started packing stuff. I went and got a storage unit, because I'm the type of person that, you know, I like to do stuff in seasons. So there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't using and everything, and I went ahead and got a storage unit, the smallest one, the little closet thing. And every weekend, me and a friend would pack up stuff and take it over to the storage unit. So by the time it got to the last week of the month, just about all my stuff was gone, with the exception of stuff to, you know, my toiletries and, you know, my wearing apparel, basically. That's all I had. Everything else had moved over to storage. And so last week rolled around, and I told him, I said, I'm getting ready to leave this week, which the last week of March kind of led into the first week of April. Led into the first week of April. The last day of March led into the first day of April. And I wanted to get out of there by the 5th of the month anyway, to avoid him trying to hit me up for some more money. And I was like, no. I said, I can't deal with the level of control that you have and everything else. I was in a situation, y'all, just to give you an idea. I would pay for my share of the groceries and say that I wanted XYZ for my groceries, and he would come back with what he wanted me to have. And I couldn't do anything about it because I had already given away my money for groceries, and I hardly had any money for groceries. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I don't have wings. And me being stressed out about that whole situation, I gained all this weight because I couldn't do what I wanted to do, worrying and stressing. You know, there was no romance there or anything, you know, so that was out of the question. You know, there was some feelings in the beginning, but when I got peeped at what was going on, I was like, no, this is not going to happen. So it just went into an instant, you know, okay, platonic living arrangement. But it's like, I'm the type of person, you know, just kind of leave me alone. If I'm doing right by you, just leave me alone. Just because you have an issue with the situation doesn't give you the right to sit there and put that off on me. Don't put that energy off on me. I ain't got nothing to do with that. So the last week of March rolled around, and eventually, you know, I told him that Wednesday, I think I left that Saturday. That Wednesday, I said, well, I'm out of here on Saturday. He's like, oh, you going back home to visit? I'm like, what the hell? See, these are the type of people I'm talking about. I said to myself, now, you know what? Either this man is so full of himself and really doesn't give a damn about my life, or he's going through early stages of dementia. And I'm not trying to say that to be funny, but the gentleman's older than me. And it's a possibility that he could be going through that. Not my problem either way. Oh, so wait, okay, so you, I said, no, I said, I'm moving. Oh, that's this Saturday. See how people be gaslighting and playing with your ass? I was so damn done with this. So I went ahead and left Saturday. No big deal. I left Saturday morning. I think I had a total of maybe 2 small suitcases and 2 small bags. That's all I was able to put what I had left in there. And I went and got a little extended stay. It was in an area that was commercial, not too far. Y'all got the bugs are starting. I'm about to shut this down. But anyway, I went ahead and did that. So this was around the time, y'all, I'm still running content every day, still staying committed. So April rolls around, everything starts to, I'm in the extended stay, and the extended stay was a bit of a hot mess because it was nothing like that I anticipated. They had problems with the elevator every other day. It was 4 floors, and I'm sitting up here having to worry about that damn elevator, my card key that they give you and everything. If you pay for a week, day 3, you got to turn around and call somebody when you come home in the evening to come open the damn door for you because the card key don't work no more. I found 2 cockroaches in the damn room. Now, mind you, this is supposed to be the newest facility that they built in the area because they have 3 other in-town suites in the area that are older. I'm thinking they're going to be clean and nice because I had a friend of mine that lived at another one of them. And she told me to come to her location, but I didn't want to go to that location because it was further away from work. Man, so I went ahead and left his place. So don't get me wrong, I left his place. I was glad to get into the extended stay. The extended stay was right across the street from the storage place where I was at. Grocery store right next to it. Really cool, really nice. But the extended stay itself, that was another shit show. So here comes another sign from Spirit. Found 2 cockroaches. Not cool. My housekeeping day was supposed to be on Tuesday. Stayed there for the whole month of April, and damn if they didn't clean my damn room when they were supposed to do the housekeeping. I called down there and asked them about the housekeeping. They said, oh, housekeeping is on Tuesday. I said, well, what am I supposed to do to get my room clean? Oh, okay, well, they'll make sure to put you on the list. I don't know, what the list wasn't updated. Shit happened 3 weeks in a row. And then on top of that, the darn card key for the thing would deactivate 2 or 3 days after you paid for a week. I said to myself, Lord have mercy, this is too much. So here go April comes and goes. I muddle my way through it. Here we go into the first week of May. To backtrack, I wanted to let you know I started the transportation location in the month of January, a few years ago. In the month of January, they have this employee manual as to how everything is supposed to be done for every single procedure. So the thing that got me aggravated is that there's some things that happened at work that I didn't think were justified because there were some things that were done and said to me that wasn't fair because I saw other people doing it. Without going into detail, I'll talk about that much later on down the line. Okay. So I said to myself, this is not work. I said, this is just weird. I said, all of these little weird things is happening. So I'm still staying in the extended stay. By the time the end of April rolls around, I said to myself, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go to the extended stay where my friend stays at that she told me to come to in the first place. So I was looking to go into that. The end of May rolled around. Let me tell you something. My ass was just done. I was so tired. Y'all, I was so tired. My back went out a few days in April. The last few days in April, my back went out. Where I had to call out sick for 3 days. Thank God I had sick time. I didn't lose any money. But I was literally in the bed. Situation with the room. Situation with having to pack up and move to another room. And Spirits just said, you know what, sit your ass down for a minute and think about this shit. So that's what I did. I think it was the first week of May, because the next week was Mother's Day. And I sat down, I said to myself, all this moving around, this struggling and shit. I said, I got family members that are going through shit in other areas. And I said to myself, you know what? Why can't we just work together and help each other out? And that's what I was thinking. So I got on the phone and I called my family. And I said, look, y'all, I'm thinking about coming home. For real? I said, no, I'm seriously thinking about coming home. I said, I'm looking at just wrapping up some things around here, tying up some loose ends. And I said, at the end of the month, I'm seriously thinking about coming home. I said, but before I do that, I said, let me know what your situation is where you can allow me to be with you for a little while until I get settled back home. I said, because I understand that it's been many years since I've been back. There's some things that have changed as far as living and everything else. I have to readapt. Even though you're from a certain hometown and you've been away for decades, and in my case it's been decades, a lot has changed, and you have to readapt to things. So I said to myself, you know what? I said, number one, I said, I need to save up some money. And number two, I need to focus on building this business. I said, because technically I was a business owner. I couldn't build the shit because I was so stressed out with the home situation and job situation. Seemed like the more work that I was doing, the less further I was getting along. And this is nothing personal against the people involved. Y'all were just doing what y'all felt y'all needed to do in your life. And you weren't responsible for me. But the bottom line is that it's not my portion to be dealing with all the bullshit I was going through. It wasn't my portion. Starting to have health issues and weight gain and stressing out and hardly being able to sleep and struggling with trying to pay bills and struggling with trying to just run basic errands and do basic things. I'm so tapped out by the weekend and everything, and I'm sitting up here with this company just sitting there waiting for me to give it some love and attention so it can grow, so I can exercise my purpose of sharing my message to people. And I couldn't do it because I was stressed out because life was life and too damn hard, and it didn't make any sense. It was unnecessary. And let me tell some of y'all something, because I mentioned this before. If for any reason, and I'm not saying that it happened with us because it's over with, but if for any reason that you're in a situation right now where you're on the outs with somebody who's close to you, fix it. Find a way to fix it. Now, I'm not saying to kiss nobody's ass. Do the best you can to try to extend that olive branch. And if they want to snatch it and run, then let their ass keep running and leave them the hell alone. At least you can say you tried on your end, And don't meditate over it, because another blessing's going to come. So I had a discussion with a few family members, and one family member in particular, my baby sister. I said, look, how do you feel about so-and-so and so-and-so? She said, when you coming? I said, well, let me talk to your husband. And I said, and then the two of y'all talk. So I called her husband on the phone. I called my brother-in-law on the phone. And I said, well, look, I said, how do you feel about so-and-so and so? I said, because, you got your situation. I got my situation. Maybe if we work together, I said, we can pull each other out, help each other out, because that's what families do. And I said, we just come together and we just, start having a life. Because everything didn't have to be a damn struggle every single damn day. We programmed to believe that everything's got to be a struggle, a race, a climb. No, it doesn't. Plenty of times the stuff that we need and want, we already have. But we caught up in this struggle culture. Everything got to be a damn struggle. I'm sick of struggling. I'm sick of that shit. So I said, well, they were like, yeah. I said, well, you know what? I said, y'all need to come together, because she was at one location, he was at another location. I said, two of y'all sit down and talk. Make sure you're fully in agreement. And I said, I'll call y'all back tomorrow. Call back the next day. Okay, so when you going to do it? I said, well, I got to give my notice and everything. And that's what I did. When the 15th of May rolled around and I got the okay from them, I gave my notice. And I know some of y'all be like, oh, that job had all that benefits and this, that. But see, it wasn't just the job, people. It was all the other crazy shit that was going on aside from that. I said the job had its issues, don't get me wrong. But there were other issues that I had to deal with outside of life, just trying to make it every single damn day. And it got to the point where I was having headaches and shit, didn't want to get out of bed, and started feeling depressed. And see, I've already had issues with depression and anxiety. I ain't going through that shit no more. Sometimes you just got to say no. And you can't be listening to a whole bunch of people telling you shit on the outside. They don't know how you feel. So on the 15th of May, I gave my notice. And of course, you know how it is with jobs. And I swear to you, the minute I gave my notice, by that time I had left the extended stay and I was getting ready to move to another extended stay. That same day I gave my notice, I called a friend of mine on the phone. She had just moved into a senior condo, 2 bedrooms, a few months before. And she said, how you doing? And I told her, I said, look, this is what's going on here, blah, 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 blah. Because she hadn't heard from me in a while and she was concerned. And I said, look, first of all, I apologize. Let me tell you what's going on here. And she said, well, where you at now? And I told her I was at extended stay, but I told her the problems with that. And I said, well, let me get ready to go to another one. She said, no, you're not. She said, come stay with me. So from the 15th of May to from the 16th of May until my last day of work, which is the 29th of May, I stayed with her. But it didn't happen. I swear to you, the morning I went in and gave my notice on the 15th, that afternoon, I called her on the phone and she told me, she said, I can't pick you up tonight. She said, I can't let you in tonight, but can you come tomorrow? No problem. I had already paid for a week at the hotel anyway, and that expired on Saturday. This was a Thursday. So she said, well, can we do Friday? I said, no problem. I said, I'm still good to go. So not only was I able to go into her place, I was able to get my, small deposit back from the apartment and keep that in my from the extended stay, keep that in my pocket. I was able to buy a little food with it. I didn't, I asked her, I said, well, how much do you want me, for me staying for you the 2 weeks? I said, I don't want to, be staying for free or whatever. She said, oh, just come up with a number and I'll take it. I said, are you kidding me? So I came up with a number, asked her if it was okay, and she said fine, which was considerably less than what I had to pay staying with, in the house. Wasn't as much space, She worked part-time, so she would leave right before I went to work and was home when I got back in the evening. She did her thing, I did mine, but we're friends, enjoying each other's company. And I explained to her what the game plan was. She said, well, you know what, you got to do what you got to do. She said, but that kind of explains, why you were kind of distant. And unfortunately, y'all, I know that's something I need to work on. But I was just, sometimes when I have a lot going on with me, I'm distant. But in the meantime, I'm still making sure that you guys get the daily videos. I hadn't been posting as much on the other 2 channels because of circumstances, because that required for me to go out. It required for me to pay a little money and do things, and I couldn't do them. So I kind of hope that narrows down what's going on. So in the month of May, it was very tumultuous for me as far as trying to relocate, not once, but twice, in addition to having to work full time. And I just wasn't able to give the attention that I need to give to the channel. I wasn't able to respond to the comments and the emails the way I should. So I'm just getting caught up. So fast forward to today, like I stated, the 29th of May was my last day at the job. The very next morning, Friday morning, I was on the Amtrak. I'm going to upload a little small short clip of me discussing that. And I was home last Friday night. So I haven't even been back here in Savannah for a week. I've only been back, what's today, Thursday? I've only been here for 6 days. 6 days, y'all. And it seems like a huge weight was taken off my shoulders. So sometimes you got to make that drastic change. And I am just so thankful that you guys hung in there with me. I'm glad that, the people that I reached out to that I had, transactions with, I thank you for being so patient. For those of you who I'm still doing business with, please understand that I will have you squared away. It's just that I was floating around. Didn't know where I was going to lay my head for a little while. And it's a scary thing. It kind of throws your head off. But now I'm home. I spent the first few days, I want to say all of last weekend, just basically getting caught up on rest. It's a little tight in my sister's house for now, but she anticipates moving. But I don't care. I mean, I'm with people who love and care for me, and I love and care for them. I'm glad to be a source of help for them, and they're helping me. And I know how it is with family. You're not going to always get along all the time, but overall, I think it's best for all of us so we can kind of, straighten our situations out, whether it's financially or emotionally, spiritually, or whatever. We could be a benefit to each other. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to get ready to head on back to the house. It's starting to get very hot out there, hot out here, even though the breeze is absolutely gorgeous. But I'm over here in Thunderbolt, which is a kind of like a township outside of the Savannah metro area. And I'm over here by the Bull River, which leads into the Savannah River. And there's a marina over here. And the marina's next to the um, municipal building. And it's a very small area. And my sister lives just a couple blocks away. And I'm just going to start taking walks every day. This is actually my first one that I've done in 15, 20 minutes. I really want to do about 30 minutes a day. So I'm going to walk a little bit more, head on back to the house because the bugs are starting to be a little bit too friendly and I ain't trying to feel that. But thank you for your support. Continue to support the channel. Continue to spread the word. You're going to be hearing more from me. And I kind of hope this helps someone. I kind of hope that there's a message that, with the story. But yeah, there was a lot of shit going on the past couple of months that I didn't tell you guys about because, I just didn't have time or the motivation to even film it. Maybe I should have. But I'm going to head on back to the house, get some breakfast going. And me and my sister and my niece are going to do some running around today, some errands and things, which is pretty cool. But I love you guys. I really do. And thank you for being there for me. And I'll be in touch. Okay?